we go.
All right. So, hey, thank you guys for being here. There you go. Braden Kiwanis Club Zoom style. And today we got Rich Freed. He's visiting The Simpsons, and he seems to be broadcasting live from there. So that's always fun. A special guest today, our very own sheriff, will be speaking. I will begin our meeting with the invocation. Dear Lord, thank you so much for this opportunity to meet. Thank you for all the blessings that you've shown and all the good things that have come out of this horrible time. Thank you for showing us your works in the midst of it all. Thank you for this group of community leaders who will be happy and willing and able to volunteer and go out and do whatever we can as soon as we can, with our safety and wellness and those of the community in mind. Thank you for this time today, for the rain, and for all our blessings. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
So, to begin, we have some announcements. We mentioned some volunteer activities. And we've got two opportunities, both tied with gifts that the club is making in the community. And just by chance, they both have 4 in the middle of their names. So Christy, you want to talk about those?
Sure. So the first one that we have is with Meals on Wheels Plus of Manatee. On June 6th, they are doing a Food for Families drive-through event at the Ellington Prime Outlet Mall. And there's 2 shifts. We sent out an email Friday. Neil has graciously offered to help wrangle volunteers and get everybody lined up to be at the event and helping. It's basically minimal contact. It's going to be like stations, and the first 1,000 families that show will get enough food for 5 days for a family of 4 to 5. So that's the first volunteer event. If you would like to volunteer for that, there's 2 different shifts. You can do both. You can do one. But what we would ask, because they have to have between 30 and 50 volunteers for that day. And if we, as a Kiwanis Club, they're giving us the first opportunity to bring volunteers forward if they want to participate. And at some point, we have a couple of days, and then I need to tell Amy how many people want to volunteer so that they can go and get the rest of the volunteers that they need from the community. So if you know that you want to participate in it, please go online and sign up for the event and pick your time. Because in a couple of days, we're going to have to open it up to community. We probably won't be able to take more volunteers because they don't want too many people. Then we also have another gift or donation that's being made to Hope for Communities. Pam Hahn, who you guys have seen speak, she came to us. They are still going to have 18 Day of Hope events this summer for homeless children and One Paycheck Away from Homeless to get them ready for the school year. They're changing it up a little bit because of everything that's gone on with COVID. They will be doing it as a drive-through event for most of these churches to get them ready for school. And they've what's neat is they've pivoted and they've kind of used this as an opportunity to get the Continuing Hope program going, where the churches that work with the kids in those neighborhoods, not only are they going to do the event in the summer, but they'll do another event like November, December, where they'll get them, medical and haircut. And then they're going to try and do another one in the spring where they get them other nonprofit agencies coming in. When there's more contact allowed, they want to add them and have this a continual event through the year for these kids and their families, which is awesome. So Pam offered, because we aren't doing Christmas in August this year, that with our donation, she's going to go back to Project Heart, figure out those kids in the area that we typically would cover, making sure that they are aligned able to have a volunteer opportunity to be in those drive-throughs. The Hope for Communities event is going to be under human and spiritual needs. And Janine will be sending out, she's the chair of that committee, she'll be sending out shortly volunteer opportunities. It's the last week of July, first week of August. And that's the 2 volunteer opportunities.
Thank you so much. And again, those are detailed in the newsletter as well. So great opportunity to get out and help in the community. The next thing we'd like to announce is the governance committee, chaired by Janine, is proposing their slate of officers and board directors for next year. And for officers, they have Christy Cardello as president, Gilbert Smith as president-elect, we're nominating Neil Unruh as vice president, Dave Grantham again as treasurer, and Mac Aldrich again as treasurer.
No. Secretary.
Secretary. Thank you, sir. Board of directors, there's 4 seats open, 6 nominees. And the nominees are Ed Cleveland, Richard Fred, Andy Miner, Jan Schauberg, Rita Smith, and Dan Van Etten. That is recommendations, nominations from the governance committee. And then I believe do we open it to the floor today, or is today? Okay, so
Yes, the next 2 weeks.
next 2 weeks. So if you have any nominations or you'd like to be nominated.
Can I ask that you reread the directors? I lost, I think, half of them. I didn't hear them.
And they are in the newsletter.
I understand, but
Yeah.
we probably need to do it here too.
Okay. Ed Cleveland, Rich Freed, Andy Miner, Jan Schauberg, Rita Smith, Dan Van Etten. These are the nominees recommended by the governance committee, and they've all been notified and accepted. And we'll take nominations from the floor at this meeting, as well as next week. And the voting is on June 9th. So if we don't have any nominations today, in addition to the ones we've heard, we'll open it up again next week. Hearing none, we'll move on to our Kiwanis moment. I think I saw Judge Smith on the line.
Christy, did you want to wait, or do you want to do it now?
I can do it now.
Okay, Mike, that situation that was brought up this morning, I thought maybe Christy ought to say something about that now.
Okay.
Okay, I don't know how many of you know this, but many of you know Marvin Farrell. He recently passed away. He was the executive director for AMI Kids. I would say, please keep his family and he in your prayers. As we find out more information, we'll forward it to everyone. I just found out this morning from Susie Bowie. So yeah, it was a shock to me, and I guess he had a medical condition and it worsened, and yeah, because I hadn't seen him in a while. So keep his family in your prayers, and we will get more information to everyone on what the arrangements are if anyone would like to be at his funeral services.
Marvin contacted me about month and a half, 2 months ago, saying that he was going through treatment at Moffitt,
Yeah.
and that he was fighting it and was very positive. So I'm sad to hear this.
Yeah, me too.
Well, thank you, Christy. Yeah, let's definitely keep his family in our prayers. Does anyone else have anything? Announcements? You know, typically on a Tuesday, you know, I have 3 or 4 people come up and ask me to announce something during that meeting. And I just realized that we don't have that same opportunity over Zoom. So I will just open it to any relevant and appropriate announcements that anyone may have for the good of the order. Okay. Gilbert, you look quite official with those flags, and then you're all suited up. You're looking good.
Well, I knew the sheriff was going to be here, so I needed to make sure I looked okay.
You look awesome.
All right, we just left 1922 in the book, and we're on chapter 3. And President Talent continued to be an outstanding president of the club in 1923. He was involved in the community and continued to set an example for all existing and future members. The officers and the board of directors plan programs for each week and accomplish the goals of the club through the committees. President Talent also encouraged each member to recruit new members for the club. In November 1923, a constitutional convention committee of Kiwanis International met in Chicago, Illinois, to consider rewriting the Constitution and bylaws. The most challenging topic was rewriting the objects of Kiwanis. The original 6 objects were determined to be inadequate, and the 5th object ran totally counter to the Kiwanis service concept. The liveliest debate of the committee revolved around the first object, which originally read, to emphasize the spiritual rather than the material values and human relations. With minor adjustments, the committee settled on the language which continues to be the objects of Kiwanis International. 1, to give the primacy to the human and spiritual rather than to the material values of life. 2, to encourage the daily living of the golden rule in all human relationships. 3, to promote the adoption and the application of higher social, business, and professional standards. 4, to develop by precept and example a more intelligent, aggressive, and serviceable citizenship. 5, to provide through Kiwanis clubs a practical means to inform enduring friendships, to render altruistic service to the build a better communities, and to cooperate. 6, in creating and maintaining that sound public opinion and high idealism which makes possible the increase of righteousness, justice, patriotism, and goodwill. In addition to funding the Christmas charity for the underprivileged children, the Manatee River Kiwanis Club also focused on helping the community become a better place to live for its residents and future residents. Manatee County was located in a unique part of Florida. As a coastal community with natural resources by the Manatee River and the Gulf of Mexico, there were natural opportunities and attractions. President Talent and the early members made sure that the clubs became more active in civic and governmental affairs in Manatee County. Communities were growing in Southwest Florida, but the roads which connected these communities were less than desirable. Manatee County, like all other Florida, welcomed visitors to the state. Even though families were driving their automobiles throughout Florida, the roads were not very good and some were not complete, ending in a dead end. This was especially true in Southwest Florida. To address the problem locally, the club sponsored a conference in Bradentown between members of the club and the Arcadia Kiwanians and Manatee and DeSoto County commissioners to plan for the construction of a paved road between Bradentown and Arcadia. Eventually, the road was completed, which benefited both communities. Members of the club understood that there was a need for facilities for the many travelers who were using the roads in Florida. President Talent created a committee to study the issue, and ultimately the club was instrumental in developing a campsite in Manatee County for those travelers stopping in the area. On December 14, 1923, the Manatee River Kiwanis Club again began having meetings at the new Arcade Hotel located in the Arcade on Main Street in downtown Bradentown. After a delicious dinner, the club held elections for the officers and directors for the next year. Several members were nominated, and the 58 members in attendance voted. Dr. Samuel Glenn Hollingsworth was elected as the 1924 president, along with Harry W. Peterson as vice president, H.D. Hornsey as treasurer, Dewey Dye as secretary, and Robert W. Bentley as district trustee. Whitney Curry, E.F. Green Jr., O.D. Groff, J. Pope Harley, Harry L. Land, Dr. T.M. McDuffie, and Dr. R.T. Ward were elected as directors. Before the end of the meeting, Dr. Ward reported that the committee had raised a substantial amount of money for the Christmas charity to provide Christmas presents for the underprivileged children. By the end of 1923, the club inducted Judge Edwin C. Barnes, E. Glenn Grimes, E. D. Groff, W. E. Heron, W. W. Hubble, H. S. Johnson, W. I. Kirk Huff, Gordon Brown Knowles, Sr., M. Levine, William Addison Manning, J. A. Myers, R. W. Peterson, and D. B. Sutton as new members. Turn it over to you, Mike.
Thank you, Judge.
Yes.
Appreciate that history, especially as we approach our 100-year anniversary of the club. I enjoy hearing the names because, you know, those are grandfathers of people we know.
They are.
Yeah, yeah.
They are, all of us.
That's awesome. Well, we've got a great program for you guys today. And to introduce our guest speaker is Neil Unruh. Neil?
I'll unmute myself. I'm not going to give a bio. We all know who the sheriff is. But with over 30 years of law enforcement and coming up on 4 years as our elected sheriff, I present to you Rick Wells.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the opportunity to be here. Hope everybody can hear me okay. So it's the new norm now, right? Everything that we do now is been on this Zoom video, which I knew absolutely nothing about 2 months ago, and now I can't get away from it. I'm sure like many of you. So I just want to go over a few of the stats from 2019, some of the issues that face the sheriff's office and some of the issues that obviously are facing us today, and just kind of recap. So right now, the Manatee County Sheriff's Office is, we're at about 530 sworn deputies in the county. The county commissioners have been very gracious to us the last 3 years, giving us 30 additional deputy positions to help keep up with the growth that is occurring in Manatee County. As you know, we continue to grow larger every year. We also have 279 correction deputies that work inside the Manatee County Jail. And last year we answered over 360,000 calls for service, roughly an estimate of about 992 calls per day. So we are dealing with the growth, keeping up with the growth, but as you can tell, each year it adds to the calls for service that we respond to. We're serving close to 300,000 citizens, and that's just in the unincorporated area of Manatee County, which is really not a precise number. We know that we're slightly over 400,000 people in Manatee County, and even though we serve the unincorporated areas of the county, we also assist the Palmetto Police Department with SWAT if they need it, with our K-9, the beaches if they need extra services, our crime scene, our K-9, our SWAT. We contract with Anna Maria to perform all the law enforcement duties on Anna Maria. So we have a lot going on. We assist Bradenton PD when they need it. If there's a large crowd and there's a police presence that's needed, they're going to call my SRT. They're going to call that special response team to come in to try to help with any type of crowd control. We patrol 741 square miles every day. But with all that being said, deputies did an outstanding job last year. We had a 7% decrease in crime in 2019, which I'm very proud about. The one thing that continues to bother us, that give us the most trouble, to be honest with you, and you've heard me talk about it before, are vehicle burglaries, and why it's aggravating. Most of the time, these are totally preventable. This is something that we can control. We can't do too much about a criminal's desire or their ability to commit a crime, but we can take away the opportunity. And what we have found here, especially in the last 5-6 years, is just people leaving their car doors unlocked and leaving personal items in the car, and it just makes it so easy for these criminals just to walk down the street and quickly look inside of our car and open it and take whatever that personal belonging is. It only takes them about 10 to 15 seconds. They can wipe out a neighborhood in about 5 minutes if they find enough unlocked vehicles. So as I'm preaching to the choir, because you've heard me say it before, it's important that all of us try to remind our families and our friends and our neighbors how important it is just to do some simple things when they get out of the car, and just remove those laptops and those purses and wallets and those guns. Unfortunately, we have a lot of guns that are stolen out of vehicles that are left unlocked. And as you can imagine, that's very alarming to all of us to know that now you have a criminal who has stolen a gun, who's out there. Lord, we don't know what he could do with that gun. So we do as much as we can on the education side. We're trying to educate people to lock the doors. We put it out on social media. We put it out on Twitter and all the things that people pay attention to today. But we still, even though we were down in vehicle burglaries, we could have been down so much more because it's not very often that we have a locked vehicle where a window's broken out and they go in and steal property. It's always unlocked vehicles. So just be aware of that. And I would say that you need to be aware of when you're in a mall, when you're in a baseball park, any type of park area, that we do have groups that travel up and down the interstate that will travel from Orlando all the way to Manatee County, and they will hit these parks when we have large events going on. And as you know, it's loud. They can go in, they can look at what's going on in the parking lot, and they will break out a window. They're called felony lane, because all they do is travel up and down the interstate and commit felonies. So just remember that as well, that when you're in a public park, no matter where you're at, make sure that you don't leave that personal property exposed. Put it in a trunk or take it with you. Just don't leave it out there in the open. We served over 3,000 arrest warrants last year. So my warrants division, even though we're responsible for the unincorporated area of Manatee County, we serve all of the warrants for the entire county. That means that Bradenton PD, Palmetto, the beaches, if they have a warrant in the system, my deputies serve those warrants as well. So over 3,000 warrants served. That means 3,000 contacts with the bad guys. So they do a really good job of staying safe, making good arrests, and getting out of there without anyone being injured or hurt. Our K-9 unit, I'm always very proud of our K-9s. They work extremely hard, trying to keep the deputies safe. These K-9s apprehended 262 bad guys last year. 57 of those arrests came after a long trap. So they've got good teeth. Yep, they got great noses as well. So they know how to track it. They know how to find dope. Like I said, we spend a lot of time. These K-9s are no different than the pets that you and I have at our house. These deputies treat them just like the pets that we have, and they are truly a benefit to all of us in law enforcement. We did notice an increase in overdoses last year, unfortunately, and you've heard me say this before. We continue to identify traffickers, so the source of the heroin or the fentanyl, and we put a lot of people in jail. When I say we put people in jail, put the traffickers in jail, the dealers in jail, not those that are addicted to this powerful drug. But there's always someone else to take the place of a drug dealer that we take off the street. That's the depressing side of what we deal with. But the narcotics unit continue to find and search out these drug dealers and who are really just making money off the deaths of others. They know this is a powerful narcotic. They know they're killing people. They don't care, and they will continue to sell this narcotic for financial gain, regardless of the tragedy and the people that they hurt. So we work very closely with our federal agents, with the FBI task force and also the ATF task force, to not only take drugs off the street, but to also take guns off the street. So we work very hard trying to make sure that we find convicted felons that are still carrying guns in our community. That's been very successful. We will take those felons to the federal level. Most of those will not be tried here locally. We will take them to the federal side because they get more time and they had to do that time. So we continue to work on that. Another depressing thing for me is that we conducted over 4,000 child neglect and child abuse cases last year. Unfortunately, a lot of kids are still being removed from their homes, and that's all. It's always a sad situation for my deputies to see the neglect going on, to see the abuse and the hardship that these kids are going through. I'm going to piggyback off of that for a minute to kind of jump to the Florida Sheriff's Youth Ranch. I don't know if you read about it last week, but unfortunately, they're going to have to shut down the Braden campus in June. And let me tell you why that is. There was a federal bill that was passed last year. It's called the Family First Act. And it's also been picked up by Department of Children and Family. And really what this has done, it has put a bad image on what they consider residential homes, group homes. And I will tell you that the Youth Ranch is anything but a group home. It's a faith-based organization that have done a lot of great things with the kids in our community. And for whatever reason, this bill was passed. And because of that, we do not receive the federal money that we were once getting from those organizations to help fund a lot of the campuses throughout the state of Florida for the Florida Sheriff's ranches. It's a sad day, ladies and gentlemen, that this is taking place. I can tell you that the Braden campus was very special. It was very special because we were able to take siblings that were removed from their home, keep them together, and put them at the youth ranch. That means if we had, sisters and brothers that were already traumatized from being removed from their home, at least we knew that we could keep them together at the youth ranch. And unfortunately, they are splitting these kids up and putting them in foster care because they don't have enough foster parents, which is another reason why I'm not really sure why this is happening. So they can't always put those siblings together in a foster setting. So we continue to battle. I think it's a travesty that we're going through this, but we will continue to fight to try to get the funding necessary to open that campus back up. They will be, I sit on that board, so this is something that we have been trying to fight for the last year and a half. We will open this up as a day camp or summer camp. We do that throughout the state already, but it won't be used to house and take care of neglected children, which is, once again, it's a travesty. We continue to deal with the traffic issues throughout Manatee County. You've heard me say this before as well, that the Florida Highway Patrol is really understaffed. That's a organization. I come from there. I love those troopers over there. They just don't have enough troopers to keep up with the traffic. So we are really picking up a lot more traffic crashes every year. We're doing between 175 and 200 crashes a month. And why that's important is because we're not that's not our primary function. So when I have a deputy that's having to work a traffic crash, that means that that deputy is not in his or her zone that she's patrolling. So now you have another deputy trying to cover those two zones. So it's been a hardship. We just added 2 more traffic deputies to our fleet to try to help alleviate some of those issues that we're having. And we'll continue to try to pick up as much of the traffic issues that we can from the highway patrol. And because every traffic complaint that comes in, that comes from a neighborhood comes to me. So every speeding complaint in a neighborhood, everything going on that's traffic related is coming to me. So we're trying to hit those spots daily to try to keep speeding under control, which is almost impossible. As soon as you leave that area, then, as you know, they start speeding again. So we'll continue to fight and try to increase that traffic unit and take care of those issues as well. Things have changed 2 months ago, when the pandemic hit and we saw that Manatee County was starting to get cases. We had to rethink the way that we do things. The first thing that we did was change the procedures inside the Manatee County Jail. We do have a healthcare provider at the jail, so we had to bring them outside into the Sally Port. And the Sally Port is the area that the deputies drive into when they have a prisoner that's not inside the facility yet. We bring the healthcare providers out to the Sally Port, and we do the screening out there. So every inmate that comes into the jail now will be screened. You take their temperature, and if there's any evidence whatsoever that they may have had contact with someone, if they've been exposed in any way, then we put them in a special cell. We have 8 pressurized cells in the jail that have a different airflow. They're in our medical unit, and so we can take anyone that has been contaminated, put them in that cell. They will be safe. The inmates, the rest of the inmates will be safe, and so will the staff. So let me be clear, because the paper has printed that we've had 2 cases of COVID-19 from inside the jail. We have not. What we've had is 2 arrestees, so 2 people that have been arrested that we identified had COVID-19 or the possibility of COVID-19 that were put in these special cells and were tested. So they never contaminated any of the other inmates and never contaminated the staff. So just wanted to make that clear that we haven't had an inmate inside of the Manatee County Jail that was exposed to COVID-19. And we're very proud of that. And we continue to take those safety measures very seriously. So we want to keep that. Everyone knows if it gets inside that jail, we're going to have heck to pay. It's going to be very difficult to contain. So every new inmate, whether they are COVID-19 exposed or not, they go into a quarantine area for 14 days at a different section of the jail. So they stay in there so we can make sure that none of the signs of the virus are shown by any of the inmates. So the inmates are safe. The deputies are safe. They've done a great job of keeping this virus out of the jail. We've also had to do a lot of things on the road that we have not normally had to deal with. Just ordering supplies has been an issue. Neil has done a great job of keeping his eyes open for N95 mask, hand sanitizer, the PPE suits that deputies have to wear from time to time. Anything that we can do to keep the deputies protected has been challenging. As you know, maybe you don't know, but criminals don't know there's a pandemic. Criminals don't care about pandemics. Criminals just go out and continue to do what they always do, and is that they victimize us. So you, as a deputy, you don't always have time to put a mask on before you're going to go hands-on with a bad guy. But we've been very blessed not to have any exposures that are work-related. We did have one deputy that was exposed and tested positive for COVID-19, and that was when he was on vacation right before Disney World was shut down. I think he'll be one of the last casualties. He's been back to work. He's doing fine. luckily no one from his family, no one else around him caught the virus. So we've been very blessed. So we haven't had any work-related exposures. We've come close. We've had to quarantine some of the deputies because of people they have come in contact with, but we have not had a work-related exposure. So obviously that's not something that we budgeted for. And we're hoping that, all the different supplies that we're having to pay for, that Neil's having to work on, we get that FEMA money, we get that reimbursement. I don't really foresee us being reimbursed anytime soon, so we had to eat that in our current budget. So we continue to try to shuffle the monies around to make sure that we can buy the equipment. And we've been very fortunate to be able to stockpile at least hand sanitizer. You can buy hand sanitizer now in barrels. I mean, it's out there. So we're just trying to take advantage of some of the equipment that's out there. And we'll be ready next time. If this happens again, we'll have more equipment on hand, and hopefully the deputies won't have to wait for anything if we have another pandemic. So we're very blessed in Manatee County. We continue to serve at a high level of professionalism. The deputies are really taking all this in stride and doing what they always do, and that's just protect and serve the citizens of Manatee County. So I'll leave it at that, and I'm open to any questions.
Well, I've got a question, Sheriff, up in Hillsborough County. They're still saying there's like 300 personnel troopers down. What is the reason in Tallahassee? Is it they don't have funding? They're not. Why can't we get the troopers back to the level I was told that was in a 1970s or 1980s level, which we should be a lot more than that?
Yeah, Brett, great question. And, when I was with the Highway Patrol, and Ed can attest to this as well, I was on a squad of 7. So that's 7 of us that were working whatever shift. Now you're lucky if you have 2 troopers that are out during the day shift at Manatee County, and as you know, that's not doable. They can't do it, and why this has hurt them is, so these troopers are going from crash to crash to crash, which leaves them no time for proactive patrol. I think it has a lot to do with, and I've spoken to the governor, I've spoken to our local legislators. It comes down to salary. They are extremely underpaid, and because of that, they try to do things to keep. They are allowing troopers in Manatee County to transfer out if another position becomes available. So that wouldn't have happened back in my day. You would not be able to transfer out until your replacement was already in the county and then out of training. So as soon as you left, there was another trooper to take your place. I just think that you've got Hillsborough County, who makes $5,000 more a year, and if you go just further south to Charlotte County, they make, all the way down to Miami, they make an extra $5,000 a year. So it's just not a good place to be right now, Manatee and Sarasota County. There's no reason to stay here if you can transfer out and make more money. So I think right now the leadership has to change the way that they do things, at least right here in Manatee County, until they can get this figured out. But it's really hurting the troopers. You just can't tolerate this very long. There's nothing good about working traffic crashes all day and not being able to do what you signed up to do as well. And that's just, protecting neighborhoods from unlawful speeders and reckless drivers.
What can we do as citizens to address that with Tallahassee or our local officials?
I think the best thing, if you just send an email to Tommy Gregory and to Will, I've spoken to them and just kind of remind them of the issues going on, and I can talk to them as well during the session and see if we can attack it. What I've noticed, and Will and Tommy have done great for us their first session. There's just such a different outlook when it comes to the state-funded agencies. I don't know why. FWC is the same way. It's just that, and DOC, the prison, they just don't want to fund what they should. And I'll never say that the money's not there. I know the money's there. I just don't want to put the money into those particular spots.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you.
Sheriff, I would imagine a large amount of your calls deal with domestic violence before the pandemic. We've heard a lot in the media about the rise of domestic violence cases. Have you noticed a exponential increase in calls for service for that particular problem?
You know what, Jimmy? You would think that we were seeing an increase, but we have not. We actually have enjoyed a decrease. And I cannot explain to you why, because I can tell you that just during the holiday season, Thanksgiving and Christmas, we have more domestics from people being around each other, during the holidays than we normally do. But right now we've had a decrease. I don't know why, but we just have not noticed a spike. I know in different areas around me, I talked to sheriffs and they have seen a significant increase in domestics. We've also seen a decrease in suicides. And once again, I really can't put a finger on it because we know we have a lot of people out here that are really depressed, have lost their jobs, they have no income. But right now, we've seen a decrease in both those areas.
Good to know.
Yes, it is.
Interesting. Any other questions? Dawn.
Thank you, Sheriff. I was wondering about screening processes for employees. Do you all have to follow processes when staff members come on to their shifts to ensure that they're feeling well and not running temps and all of that? Has that changed at all?
Yeah, for the deputies, they know right now that they're feeling sick in any way to stay home. All the districts, we have the thermometer. So everybody that comes into the district, anybody that comes into the op center, have to take their temperature before they come inside, and that's all of us. So that's not just the outside, but every single employee. So we've been very fortunate to be able to pick up on any issues before they come inside the main facility. And the deputies and the civilian staff have been very good about staying home when they feel sick at all, or letting us know that, hey, I came in contact with someone that has tested positive. And we're going to do even if we don't see any signs, we're just going to tell them to stay home until, at least the quarantine period.
A couple of nights ago, we had a group of kids that came through our neighborhood about 3 a.m. Just checking door handles, and ended up stealing a bunch of stuff from several cars. And I remembered what you said at the Manatee Chamber Retreat. It was the first thing that came into my mind is, why would you leave your door unlocked and a laptop or a phone or whatever sitting in the car?
Well, I just want to, I think it's important for all of us because, I continue to say it like a broken record because it's really so important that people understand that just taking a few seconds when you leave your vehicle and go in the house. And what worries me the most is, they will test the waters and they'll push your garage door opener too if you have one.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll go inside that garage and they will steal whatever's in there, and they will steal whatever's in the other car that may be in there. So, we come from a different time. I think that we were all very aware of locking our cars and taking things of any value out and locking our doors. But everybody just seems to be in a hurry, and I get it. They get out, they don't think about it, and they come out the next day and it's all gone.
Do your deputies find they're spending a lot of time enforcing the social distancing?
Yeah, I've made it very clear that we are not the social distancing police. So what we want to do is we want to tell people if we see a large group, we want to remind them respectfully that they need to separate. But I think that we are seeing a period now with everything opening back up that more people understand the importance of it themselves. And when I talk about, I don't think that people are going to go into business if the business is not practicing you know, the social distancing. I went to Home Depot the other day on Saturday, and I saw the line backed up all the way through the parking lot. I'm like, well, I don't need anything that bad, right? But they were doing their job, and they were making sure that they only have the right amount of people inside the store. So we're not having a lot of calls about people gathering in public spaces.
So I want to thank the sheriff because my daughter's at that front door for Home Depot and there's a lot of not nice people.
Oh, I bet you. I tell you, but I think, you know, it's important because that's what we want to see, that you have. Home Depot was fortunate that they stayed open, and they took that seriously, and they did exactly what the governor asked them to do, and you got to love them for it. I mean, if I needed something really bad, I'll wait. Yeah, but they're doing their job.
Any other questions? Gilbert, do you have a question?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and ask a question. Sheriff, I know you're probably, it's not going on now, but are you still going to have the Citizens Academy in the future?
Yeah, you know, unfortunately, Judge, we were the second week of a class when this hit, and we had to cancel. So we're going to continue. We just have to make sure that the timing's right. You know, because I think even if we were confident that we could pull it off, I'm not so sure that the people themselves would want to come. So we're going to have to find a new location where we can spread them out. Because right now we're over at the EMS building there, the Criminal Justice Academy. I don't think we can spread them out enough, because we have about 70 plus in there every time. But we're going to continue to pursue some different locations so we can keep running it. We will never get rid of that. We just got to maybe flip the script a little bit and find a better location to spread them out.
Well, and I just wanted to promote that for any members here that have not gone through the Citizens Academy or don't know much about it. It is actually one of the most educational and fun things I did. And I did it some 20, 25 years ago, and it was really educational. It was a lot of fun, and I don't know which one was my favorite, but the K9s were good.
Yes, sir. They're always the highlight.
All right, no other questions. All right, well, Sheriff, we very much appreciate you spending some time with us today. We know how busy you are, and appreciate everything you had to tell us, and hopefully we'll be better at locking our doors.
Yes, hey, my pleasure.
Inside.
Always a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. Listen,
we got hands waving me goodbye. These people are high tech on this Zoom. I can't do all that.
Well, I wish we were high tech enough to give you a virtual golden rule, but we don't even have that yet. But you probably have a pocket full of them by now.
Hey, I'll just do this. Like you did.
Oh, perfect.
There you go.
Sure.
Awesome. I hope Mac's keeping track, and we'll backfill once we're open to back up. But we really appreciate you being here.
Thank you all so much.
I want to make sure everybody looks at the newsletter, the volunteer opportunities that Christy mentioned that tie right into some monetary donations we made are spelled out in detail on how to get involved. And then we also have our slate of officers proposed by the governance committee along with our board of directors. Next week, we'll open the floor up for additional nominations. With that, I'm guessing Mac's got something to say.
No, that's it.
No, he's going to ring the bell. All right, then.
Are you ready for it?
Well, absolutely. You guys have a great week.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Good to see
Bye.
Bye.
Everybody, see you next week. Thanks, Sheriff.
Thank you, Sheriff.
All right, y'all have a good one. And I will be gone next week, but we'll see you the weekend.